Ever feel like you're chasing a million things at once? Like not making real progress on the things that truly matter?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, today we are diving into a framework that promises to help us conquer exactly that,
Okay.
using objectives and key results,
Okay.
or OKRs for short.
Right.
And I have to say, after digging into John Doerr's Measure What Matters,
Yeah.
I'm convinced this is more than just like a Silicon Valley buzzword.
You're spot on. What I find intriguing about OKRs is how they've been implemented by not just tech giants, like
Right.
Google and Intel, but also organizations like the Gates Foundation. These are entities working towards wildly different goals, yet they've all found success with this framework.
It's about like setting those ambitious objectives, your big what goals, and then breaking them down into these really clear, measurable key results, the how.
Right.
The how you'll get there. Think of it as a roadmap for
Yeah.
achieving the seemingly impossible.
Precisely. The elegance lies in their simplicity and adaptability. It doesn't matter if you're a team of 5 or 5,000, the core principles remain relevant. And that's something we'll see throughout this deep dive as we uncover these real-world examples of how organizations use OKRs to achieve breakthrough results.
I'm ready to jump into these stories because Doerr doesn't just throw theory at you.
Right.
He brings it to life with stories about the people and the passion behind some incredible achievements.
Yeah.
And one that truly grabbed my attention was the origin story of OKRs at Intel,
Okay.
all thanks to the legendary Andy Grove.
Doerr refers to Grove as the OKR incarnate, a leader known for his relentless focus and demanding yet effective management style. He understood that in a world saturated with distractions, prioritizing becomes paramount.
It's that whole idea of less is more, right?
Yes.
Doerr quotes Grove saying, "A few extremely well-chosen objectives impart a clear message about what we say yes to and what we say no to." That's incredibly powerful.
Indeed. And it's where OKRs truly shine. They compel you to identify your top priorities and make those tough decisions about what deserves your attention. Take, for instance, Intel's Operation Crush. They were facing really stiff competition from Motorola in the microprocessor market, and they needed a way to regain their footing.
This campaign is like a phenomenal example of how OKRs can transform an entire organization because they didn't just want to catch up to Motorola. They wanted to dominate the market.
What's striking is how they structured their OKRs. One of their objectives was to establish the 8086 as the highest performing 16-bit microprocessor.
Okay.
Now, to achieve this, they outlined key results like developing specific benchmarks to prove their performance advantage and cleverly repackaging their entire product family to align with this new focus.
It's like they created a roadmap to victory with measurable milestones along the way.
Absolutely.
But Doerr also cautions against poorly defined OKRs.
Yeah.
Using that infamous Ford Pinto example.
Ah, yes. The Pinto's gas tank issue serves as a cautionary tale. Ford's obsession with hitting specific weight and price targets, those were their key results.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, led to a dangerous design flaw.
It really underscores that OKRs are not just about hitting arbitrary numbers.
Right.
It's about achieving the right outcomes and considering all aspects of a project.
Precisely.
This leads perfectly into a story about Remind, an education technology company.
Okay.
What resonated with me here was the founder's personal mission and how it fueled their use of OKRs.
It's a fascinating case study. Brett Kopp, the founder, had his own struggles with ADHD in school.
Wow.
That fueled his passion for improving communication and education. He and his brother set out to create a better tool for teachers, students, and parents using OKRs to stay laser-focused on that mission.
Initially, Kopp saw OKRs as this rigid corporate tool, not something for his agile startup. But then he had this epiphany, realizing how OKRs could actually help them scale without losing sight of their core values.
Right.
And this is a crucial point.
Yes.
OKRs aren't just for corporations. They can empower any team to stay focused and aligned on what matters most.
Absolutely. Reminding story kind of highlights a crucial aspect of OKRs. Alignment.
Right.
Think of it like this. A well-defined roadmap is kind of useless if everyone's trying to navigate with a different map, right?
Right.
OKRs create that shared understanding and ensure everyone is headed in the same direction.
It's about breaking down those silos that can pop up in any organization. Right?
Exactly.
Doerr actually uses the term team of teams to describe this interconnectedness.
And one of the most effective ways to achieve this is through transparency.
Okay.
When everyone's goals are out in the open, it fosters a sense of collective purpose.
Right.
There's a study mentioned in the book that found when colleagues can see each other's progress, motivation gets a significant boost. We're talking 92%.
Wow, that makes perfect sense. Knowing how your work contributes to the bigger picture can be incredibly motivating. I'm curious, what are some of the ways companies are using transparency to drive alignment with OKRs?
Doerr talks about MyFitnessPal, the health and fitness app. The founders had this realization that their engineering team wasn't fully aligned with the product goals, which was leading to wasted time and effort.
Wow.
Their solution, transparent OKRs.
So simply by making their goals public,
yes,
they saw a noticeable improvement in their efficiency.
Precisely. But it's important to note that alignment, especially as companies grow, comes with its own set of hurdles.
Okay.
The book delves into MyFitnessPal's acquisition by Under Armour to illustrate this point.
This sounds like a clash of cultures waiting to happen.
It was.
Did OKRs help bridge that gap?
Absolutely. Mike Lee, MyFitnessPal's co-founder, talks about the difficulties of integrating their fast-paced environment with Under Armour's more traditional annual goal-setting process.
Right.
There was a disconnect, a lack of clarity regarding how individual team goals connected to the overall company strategy.
Okay, so how did they navigate that?
OKRs became the common language. By using this framework, Lee was able to foster better communication and align the entire division, even with teams that had very different ways of working.
Wow.
It's remarkable how OKRs can bridge those divides and ensure that everyone is on the same page, regardless of their department or physical location.
It's like providing that universal translator for goals.
Exactly.
Doerr also talks about Intuit.
Yes.
The company behind TurboTax and QuickBooks.
Right.
And how they use OKRs to foster what he calls bottom-up innovation.
Intuit is a stellar example of empowering employees at every level. They encourage their teams to set ambitious goals and connect them directly to the company's overarching mission. And because everyone's OKRs are transparent, it allows individuals to see the impact of their work on the company's success.
It's about giving every employee a seat at the table, even if it's like a virtual table.
Exactly.
I imagine that kind of transparency becomes even more crucial in larger, more complex organizations.
Absolutely. Take AOL, for instance.
Okay.
Before OKRs, they were grappling with disconnected goals and a lack of clarity regarding how those goals connected to employee activities.
Right.
Introducing OKRs brought about a significant improvement in their transparency, alignment, and as a result, their overall performance.
It sounds like OKRs acted as this unifying force, bringing everyone together under a shared vision.
Yes.
But it's not enough to just set goals and hope for the best.
Right.
There's got to be a system for tracking progress and ensuring accountability.
You're hitting on a critical point. OKRs are data-driven. They rely on regular check-ins, objective grading of progress, and a willingness to continuously reassess and adapt. This process helps identify potential roadblocks early on so you can address them before they derail the entire operation.
So it's like having your finger on the pulse,
That's good.
constantly monitoring and making adjustments as needed.
Exactly.
Doerr shares a compelling example of this with the Gates Foundation.
Yes.
And how they utilize OKRs to track their progress toward their philanthropic goals.
What's remarkable is the scale at which they operate. They're tackling global challenges like disease eradication and educational inequality, and they're using OKRs to measure their impact and ensure their resources are being used effectively.
It's incredible how they've gone from thousands of cases of guinea worm disease in 2000 to just a handful in recent years.
It's amazing.
That speaks volumes about the power of setting clear goals, meticulously tracking progress, and making data-informed decisions.
It does.
But it's not just about hitting those targets, is it? There's something to be said about pushing beyond what you initially believe is possible.
You're right. It's about embracing what Doerr calls the power of stretch. He argues that setting ambitious, even seemingly impossible goals can unlock hidden potential and lead to extraordinary outcomes.
Okay.
He even cites a study by Edwin Locke, who's considered the father of goal-setting theory, showing that people with more challenging goals consistently outperform those with easier goals.
So it's not about setting yourself up for failure. It's about pushing past your comfort zone to achieve things you didn't think were possible.
Yes.
It reminds me of that Intel story, Operation Crush,
Right.
and how they tripled their initial sales target for a struggling product.
Exactly. Their goal of 2,000 design wins in a single year for their 8086 microprocessor seemed insurmountable at the time. But that audacious goal, that stretch, energized their sales force, and they ended up surpassing it.
Talk about a motivational boost.
I know, right?
And Doerr suggests that this stretch mentality is ingrained in Google's DNA.
Of course.
They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's achievable, whether it's creating a game-changing web browser or striving for 1 billion hours of daily watch time on YouTube.
Their gospel of 10x, the idea of aiming for 10 times improvement, perfectly encapsulates this philosophy.
Right.
It encourages their teams to think big, embrace risks, and challenge the status quo.
And those audacious goals have resulted in some remarkable innovations.
Yes.
Gmail's massive storage capacity,
Right.
or the meteoric rise of the Chrome browser. It's about reaching for the stars. Even if you fall short, you're still reaching remarkable heights.
And sometimes you end up exceeding even your wildest expectations.
Right.
The story of YouTube achieving 1 billion hours of daily watch time is a perfect example. It seemed impossible.
Right.
Yet they managed to align a massive, complex organization around this single ambitious goal, navigating challenges and celebrating triumphs along the way.
It's a reminder that OKRs aren't static.
Right.
They need to evolve alongside your business and your understanding of what your customers truly value.
Yes.
This whole concept of setting these ambitious goals and then constantly tracking and adapting, it reminds me of like those dreaded annual performance reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it be more effective to have a system of like continuous feedback and development rather than these like once-a-year evaluations?
You're touching on a crucial point that Doerr highlights in the book.
Okay.
He argues for a shift from traditional performance reviews to what he calls continuous performance management.
Okay.
It's about fostering a more kind of human-centered workplace.
Right.
Where ongoing conversations, regular feedback, and recognizing those achievements throughout the year, they take center stage.
It sounds like a much more like supportive and engaging approach, something that focuses on growth rather than judgment.
Exactly.
Are there any companies that are putting this into practice?
Oh, absolutely.
Like ditching the traditional review in favor of this continuous model?
Yeah, Adobe is a fantastic example.
Okay.
Back in 2012, they completely overhauled their performance management system, replacing annual reviews with a system called Check-in.
Okay.
It centers around regular feedback, ongoing goal setting, and frequent career development conversations.
And what was the outcome of this, like, radical shift?
Well, they saw a significant decrease in employee turnover.
Wow.
Which I think really underscores that people crave feedback.
Right.
They want to know how they're doing and where they can improve.
Yeah.
And this desire for growth and recognition shouldn't be confined to a single, often dreaded annual event.
Right. It makes you realize that the traditional model is, like, pretty outdated.
Yeah.
Shifting gears slightly, Doerr talks about this innovative company, Zoom Pizza.
Okay.
And how they're using robots not to replace their employees, but to enhance their capabilities.
Right.
It's, like, fascinating.
It's a really interesting example of kind of using technology to create a more efficient and fulfilling workplace.
Right.
By automating those repetitive tasks like, dough preparation.
Right.
They free up their human employees to focus on more creative and customer-centric roles.
So it's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
But where do OKRs and continuous feedback fit into this equation?
That's where it gets really interesting. Zoom Pizza actually uses OKRs and a culture of continuous feedback to create an environment of transparency and constant improvement.
Okay.
So they have these regular one-on-one meetings where employees not only discuss their work-related goals, but also, their personal aspirations and how the company can support them.
It's a much more like holistic approach to employee development.
Absolutely.
It recognizes that people are more than just their job titles. They have lives and aspirations outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a powerful combination, using OKRs and continuous feedback in this way.
It is. And Doerr actually refers to this as CFRs, conversations, feedback, and recognition. And he really emphasizes their importance in shaping that more human-centered workplace.
Okay.
It's about cultivating open communication, making people feel valued, supported, and empowered.
It's about creating a culture where people feel connected to something larger than themselves.
Precisely. And to that point, Doerr highlights how Coursera, the online education platform, directly links its OKRs to its core values.
Okay.
This creates a powerful feedback loop, reinforcing their mission and shaping their organizational culture.
It's about walking the talk, like embedding those values into the very fabric of the company.
Exactly. And Doerr really emphasizes that a strong, value-driven culture is the bedrock of any successful OKR implementation.
Right.
He even cites a study by Dov Seidman, who's a business philosopher, revealing that companies with such cultures are demonstrably more innovative, their employees are more engaged, and ultimately they are more successful.
It's easy to get caught up in the mechanics of OKRs, setting the goals, tracking the data, but ultimately it's about the people and the culture that make it all work.
Couldn't agree more. And Doerr really stresses the importance of leadership buy-in.
Yeah.
Communicating those goals clearly throughout the organization and even embracing failure as a natural part of growth. He also highlights the importance of building those strong, cohesive teams and fostering trust, which is something that resonated really deeply with him from his experiences, working with companies like Google and Amazon.
It's that, human element again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Building those connections, fostering trust, and creating an environment where people feel supported to take risks and learn from their mistakes.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between setting those ambitious goals that push you beyond your comfort zone and ensuring those goals are achievable and motivating.
This entire deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've explored OKRs from their origins at Intel to their widespread adoption by all sorts of organizations, examining the importance of focus, alignment, tracking progress, and stretching to achieve those remarkable goals.
And we've seen how OKRs, coupled with continuous feedback and a strong company culture, can create a workplace where people feel valued, motivated, and empowered to do their best work.
It's been quite a journey. So as you reflect on what we've discussed today, I encourage you to think about what truly matters to you. What audacious goal, what impossible dream will you set your sights on, using the power of OKRs to make it a reality?